Throughout a 48-year career at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, Terry Klopfenstein has made a deep impact on the beef industry. That's apparent from his numerous awards, recently being named one of Beef Magazine's 50 most influential industry leaders in the last 50 years. Now in an emeritus role with UNL, Terry came to Lincoln in 1965 after graduating from The Ohio State University. That's his, not mine. While his postdoctoral work focused on alfalfa stems in the then prominent dehy production industry, Terry worked significantly in beef cattle nutrition involving distillers' grains. Beef Magazine described him as the first to develop beef cattle diets using distillers' grains as both a protein and energy source. At a recent nutrition conference at the ARDC near Meade, we sat down with Terry to talk about the challenges and opportunities in the beef industry, as well as the advances he's seen over his 48-year UNL career.
I grew up in Northwest Ohio, went to school at The Ohio State University. We're part of the Big Ten now, which, by the way, it's we never had to play in football until we joined the Big Ten. That's a little bit more of a challenge for me now. But I've been in Nebraska a lot longer, and you know what? I got paid a salary in Nebraska, so it's a lot. My loyalties are at Nebraska.
We know how to take care of our guests.
That's
I'll tell
right.
You that.
Yeah.
So what did you work on when you first came here?
I came out on a postdoc to work on alfalfa stems, and the dehy industry was big in Nebraska at that time, especially in the Platte Valley, because the water table's high enough that the alfalfa taproot would go down to the water. So we had sub-irrigated alfalfa. So in the Dawson County area, for example, tremendous alfalfa production. You still get that without irrigation. And so there was a big dehy industry. You just see these plumes of water vapor coming off of the plants as you drive down even before Interstate 80, but then Interstate 80, and so on. And so there was interest in doing some separation and using the leaves as a protein source and do something with the stems. And so I came to work on that project, which was USDA funded. So I came on a postdoc for 3 years. And so I was going to come out here in the Great West from Ohio for 3 years and then go do something. Well, a year after I was here, the faculty member who was my supervisor on the postdoc moved out to North Platte, Don Clanton, and the department head said, well, do you want his job? And I said, well, sure. So I've been here for 48 years, and it just happened that way. There were no interview or anything. Just, do you want that job? Well, sure, I'll take a permanent job.
You must have made quite an
impression. I need to feed my kids,
yeah. So in those 48 years, a lot has changed. One of them is the dehy industry. That doesn't really exist too much
There's 2 or 3
Nebraska
plants
anymore.
now, some specialty things. And the dehy was important because it was our source of vitamin A at that time for livestock. Okay, and then we developed synthetic vitamin A, so we no longer needed the dehy. That's changed. A lot of things have changed, sure.
What are some of the things that the cattle industry, the beef industry overall, has accomplished in those 48 years? Some of the big strides that they've made? There
would be a number. Certainly the biggest, though, is the ethanol industry and the impact that that's had. We've had lots of efficiencies. A lot of those are what I would call technology, greater use of implants, the beta agonists that are being debated right now with challenges, but they've added a lot of efficiency. Ionophores, rumensin is one of those that is widely used that increases efficiency. So all of that adds up to quite a bit. I hope we've become a little better at diet formulation and doing that. But all of those things are still relatively small compared to the impact that the ethanol industry had, and then the byproduct use by cattle in the state.
Speaking of, you moderated a nutrition panel this morning with 4 guests. 3 of them mentioned distillers' grains, and the other one mentioned livestock grazing corn stalks. Right now, how important is the crop industry to the beef industry?
We've talked before about the golden triangle, the corn production industry, the ethanol industry, and the cattle industry. And it really goes well together. That corn residue is absolutely critical. And we've got a good baseline research, and then with the future, there are all kinds of things that can be done to take advantage of that. and then the ethanol industry fits with that. It caused the corn production to go up, so we've got more residue, but also that byproduct just fits great with these corn residues. So a tremendous opportunity for us in the future.
When we talked about a year ago, we were talking about grazing corn stalks and how you might see a subsequent yield boost on your fields. And you said at the time you were on a mission to promote it and to make people aware of it. Do you think there is a good awareness of that now, or do you think more can be done to make crop producers aware of it?
We've got a long ways to go. There's still resistance. And again, I think we've got the information, although I understand that at times there can be criticism. We've got good information at a couple of sites in the state, greatly different soil types and environments, but and it needs to be long-term. We got one long-term site. Our site out at Brule is at 4 or 5 years is still relatively short-term, but we've got a ways to go. I'm trying to pass that mission on to some younger people, but I think it's being discussed today at an extension meeting, for example, the extension specialists. So we've been working on it, but a lot needs to be done to form this partnership. And one of the things that will help this along, the corn farmers listening aren't going to like this, but one of the things that will help that is $4 corn. Because now $10 an acre for grazing the stalks is different than it was when we were talking $7.50 corn. It adds to the revenue. And we believe that it ultimately helps because of the amount of residue that we have on the field. Removing some is obviously a benefit.
I'll close with one of the questions that was also asked in the earlier panel. What do you see for the future? What do you see as some of the challenges, whether it be in nutrition or animal welfare for the beef industry?
You mentioned animal welfare. That's going to be an issue. We had a good speaker today to discuss that. I don't want to say nutrition's more important just because that's what I do, but I see some of the things on the nutrition side. There's some oil being removed from the distiller's grains. We're talking about other things that can be taken out of the distiller's grains. It's going to be different for us in the future. So we've got to be prepared for that as a cattle industry, both at the feedlot level and at the cow-calf and backgrounding levels. And then I think the greatest potential we have, though, is the use of the residues. Just unlimited because of the number of corn acres and the ability of the ruminant to use it, and limited only by our ability to make good decisions and figure out how to do things well.